Right, you lot. It's getting exciting, isn't it? The weather is finally getting good. We're in spring. It's officially spring. I'm calling it, Jake. It is spring right now. And the fish are waking up a little bit. Finally, things are waking up and we can actually feed a little bit of bait, which is what we've managed to do on this one. The carp, I'm not going to say they're not dormant, but they want a little bit of bait. And definitely that has to be employed in the way that we fish for them. Yeah, the days of bomb and corn and bomb and bread, they're nearly behind us now, and we've got to swap to them feeders and start giving them a little bit of food, just like that one wanted, and that's first cast of the day. So we are well and truly flying, and that's what today's video is going to be all about. What I'm going to run through is the subtle little changes that I make to me bait in order to just create that little bit more attraction. Look at that, 10 out of 10 as well, eh? A little bit more attraction. Just do what I can to make sure I get a few more bites than everyone else. Because I don't want to be feeding loads of bait. It's not time that we can feed loads and loads of bait. Let's get him back. But it is time where they want a bit of a taste. They need that attraction. And there's lots of little things that you can do with your bait. When it comes to feeder fishing, be it pellet feeders, method feeders, hybrid type feeders, whatever you want, there's little things that you can do to your bait just to drag them fishing a bit better. Just to make sure you're putting a bit of bait in your peg. There's a bit more for them just to have a little feed on instead of just fishing a single hook bait like we would have a few weeks ago. So, without further ado, that's what today's going to be all about. The little tips in order to get more bites on the feeder during the springtime. So, one in a bag. I think it's going to be all right. But still, I want to break down the bait for today's session, as we always do, just to show you exactly what we're using. I mean, really, really simple. I've hardly mixed any bait whatsoever. So, what I want to go through is, first of all, my ground bait. I'm not even going to mix that for you. It's already done. I've done it at home. I've gone with the F1 original, as we always do. I like this more than the crush pellet, more than the, what's it called, Jakey? Super Crush Expander. That's my favourite to Swan for really fast fishing, and it's probably what I'd use if it was really shallow water and for F1, so it's really, really active and breaking down really quick. The F1, however, I've spoke about this loads and loads, has a little bit more binding agents to it, just makes it a little bit stickier, a little bit more versatile, so that's what we've gone with. I've mixed up literally, what have I mixed up? Not even a kilo. Yeah, I've used literally just over a third of a bag, and I end up with a hell of a lot of ground bait with a third of a bag. And that's mixed in exactly the same way as I always do it. Completely drown it, turn it into almost a slop, leave it for the side for 20 minutes, put it through a riddle, and you end up with this beautiful, wet, sandy mix that is fairly dry, to be honest. It's amazing how much the crushed pellet soaks in that water. But it just creates that lovely mix, and as I say, really dry to begin with, because that way I can mess about with it. But I can still create a lovely feeder. You see with that, really tight feeder, if I want to, but it'll break down really, really, really quickly. So ground bait, simple as, it's done. But as I say, keep it dry so you can change it throughout the day. But initially, dry, dirt, dry. That's all I'm getting at, as dry as possible. Pellets, as usual, 2mm Thin Perfects. I do them again. A bit unlike method feeder fishing, where I want to soak them for a minute or two, depending on how warm it is, and then drain them off. I don't need the binding agent sort of thing. I don't need the stickiness that I need if I was just using pellets on their own for this, because I'm nearly always gonna have ground bait involved. So I can mix these as I do, or I can make these, if you like, as I do if I was feeding the pole, fishing a pole with them. I'll get my pellets before I leave in the morning in the garage, literally put them in the tub, just cover them in water, literally just, so there's like a mill of water above them, and leave them. Simple as that, they are done, and you end up with this beautiful spongy micro pellet that, yes, on their own would be a bit tricky. It'd mean that on their own I'd have to use them in a pellet feeder, which again we might come on to later depending on what I do throughout the session. But as long as I'm adding some ground bait to them, jobs are good. I mean, using them in a hybrid or pellet type feeder, it's all the binding agents there within the ground bait, and the feeder's looking after it anyway, so it's exactly what I want. And the easiest bait in the world, I can prep that in a minute in my garage. and I'm on the bank, I'm fishing so quickly with minimal base wastage and plenty of bait for a session. Hook bait wise, I'll talk about them in a minute as well. Hook bait wise, it doesn't get any easier. Yeah, I'm going to talk about it a bit more when I start fishing, but it's about being versatile and selective at the same time, sort of. Like, I don't want to fish maggots or too delicate baits because I want to catch carp, really. But I want a bait that I could catch a few fish. I could catch some skimmers. I could catch some F1s. I want to catch anything. And our micro wafters, they're just the bestest things in the world. And for me, they're my happy hook bait. It's my confident hook bait. It's what I'll put on all the time. Generally a pink one. Pink one's me go-to in the little size of them. I've just got so much confidence in it. And for anything, say I'd be perfectly not surprised to catch a 20-pounder on it. I could easily catch a 2-ounce skimmer on it. They're a nice hook bait that's durable, does the job, stands out. It's just the best hook bait for me. So, as you think, my bait's ready done. I've got literally my ground bait and my micros ready to go. Really simple. And then what I have my other little bowl on my tray that you're going to see when I'm fishing, that I'll mix the percentages of what I want. Yeah, I'll have the base mix of ground bait, so I'll put 2 big handfuls of ground bait in to start with, 1 handful of pellets. Yeah, so I'm about 30% of pellets, maybe a little bit more ground bait to start. So very little feed content to start, and then as I talk about, that'll get changed throughout the session. So as you can see, bait is really simple. The only other thing I will add is a few of them. Yeah, our fluoro rocks just mean it's a little bit more attractant. Not in any terms of the fish want to eat them. It just grabs the eye sort of thing, something to catch. And it makes it look a little bit pretty. So I like a little bit of that. Looks different, doesn't it? It's like disco ground bait. But that's just a little confidence thing for me. But as you can see, bait is really simple, but versatile as well. As you can see, it's what I'm going to talk about, is being able to play about my bait, add different amounts of bait to my feeder, to put bait into my peg or not to put bait in my peg, depending what I want to do. And it's just a lovely, simple way of fishing that gives me the best of everything I've got with the bait that I'm supplied with. So, baity bit sorted, and I want to catch another one now because I'm excited. It could be good. It's the waking up, as I keep saying. But my bait's very simple. You've seen how I've prepped it. It's as easy as it can possibly be. But I want to play about with it. So I have my tubs. I've done similar videos to this in the past where I keep my options open in that I've got my ground bait there ready to go, that F1 original that I've done. It's my ground bait that's so versatile in it. I can have it cloudy to attract them. I can stiffen it up. My feeder can be as versatile as it can possibly be using that stuff. And of course, I've got some pellets. Yeah, this time of year, I'd rather feed as few pellets as possible. I believe it fills them up, and above all else, they stay in my peg, which definitely to begin with in a session I don't want. Yeah, I want just that ground bait, and I honestly believe once that feed is disturbed, with it just being the crushed pellet expandery stuff, it's nothing. Yeah, once I've moved that feeder or I've had a bite, whatever else, it's leaving. There's nothing behind. There's a smell, if anything. There's no actual amount of bait for them to keep on eating, which later on I can change. Of course, I can add more and more pellets to my mix. But to begin with, I'm fishing as attractive as I possibly can with my ground bait, my smells, my sight, whatever else I'm going to talk about now, but utter minimal amounts of bait. But still bait. That's the key thing. So I've got my first tub, my initial tub, that is, I'm going to say it's 70% ground bait in my initial tub. This is my mixing bowl. This is the one that I'm going to use on my feeder all the time. Obviously, I can use them on their own if I want, but I always have my mixing bowl ready that I want certain percentages of whatever. Just how I feel it's going to be to start. And of course, the bestest hook bait in the world to start, sort that out, let's wrap around a little bit, is my little micro bandums. My favourite hook bait by a million mile now for all my feeder fishing. I've got so much confidence in putting one of them on. You just get a bite off everything, be it a skimmer, an F1 or a carp, everything will eat them. And they're not as faffy as using maggots that I worry about folding over my hook, things like that. They're a joke. Since they've come out, I can't put anything else on the hook. I've got the utmost confidence in them, even for massive big fish. And it's got the sight element that we're going to talk about in a minute. So, to begin with, as I say, 30% pellets, 70% ground bait. So very little feed. I've got a few flingies in there as well, a few little fluoro rocks in there, just for the visual thing. You know what I mean? And just so it looks pretty, because it does, doesn't it? So we've got a few of them going on, and I'm just going to feed a tiny little feeder. What I'd do if I was fishing a pole, it's exactly the same thing that you're trying to emulate, is chuck into that island with a little bit of bait, is what I'd do if I could reach that island with a pole. Let's get that in without chucking it in the tree. Chucked it in the tree, Jake. Just went in the tree. It'd come out the tree, we're all good. It's come out tree, we're all good. Right, cut that bit, please. You're not going to, are you? Let's just crack on. Yeah, let's do that again. It's like an invisible one that had me before that, to be fair. Let's see how quick that bait comes out. I'm going to pretend that didn't happen. Didn't happen. So, going to load me feeder, as I said, 70% ground bait, 30% pellets. Little wafter on top, me band them on top. Good to go. So I'm burying my bait as well. I don't want it visible. I want to really, really squeeze that hard. Because it's that F1 original, I know that it doesn't matter how hard I squeeze it. Right, where's that flipping branch? That's that branch that's sticking down, so I want to be a bit... That's better. The little invisible one that keeps getting me. So I want to put that in nice and quiet. And I want to use little tiny feeders because I do think they're still, so beginning of the session, the last thing the fish are going to do is come to the noise me feeder going in. In the summer, they'll home in on it. This time of year, it ain't happening. So I want nice little light feeders, not a big amount of bait. They're the smallest matrix feeders I've got on, but I might later swap to a pellet feeder. But I'll talk about that if I do it, just to introduce a bit more bait. But as I say, the things that I'm trying to incorporate, got my brass strap out, is I want the attraction of my bait. That's my ground bait. My ground bait and the sight things is my main attraction. In the ground bait's going to create a bit of a cloud. Not a lot, but a little bit. Because the way I've got it mixed really, really dry. So that's going to break off, have a little bit of a cloud. Then I've got the attraction of the visual stuff, of the fluoro rocks in it, and my hook bait. That just makes things as attractive as it can be. At the minute, there's not a lot of scent, not a lot of smell. There's just the fish meal element of the ground bait that's going to put the attraction that way in the water. But I'm doing as much as I can to get them fish to just be interested in me bait. I mean, not just a single hook bait in the middle of nowhere. I want that little bit of bait just to get their attention and hopefully slightly build a peg. While at the same time, the way my kit is, in terms of a small hook bait, a little hook, mini amounts of bait, and keeping our options open to catch anything. I'm not being selective. I'm not fishing a big 8-10 mil hook bait or anything like that. I just want to get a bite. And that is what it's all about, particularly early in the session at this time of year. Stack the odds in your favour of getting a bite. I mean, it's never going to do any damage catching other fish before bigger fish arrive, maybe later in the session. Just catch anything, but not too delicate. I don't want to be fishing maggots coming back with roach, things like that. It's slightly selective, but not at the same time without contradicting myself. So that is pretty much trap set now, and I'm going to not try and build a peg as I would in the summer when it gets better. I want to give it sort of start off 5 to 10 minute casts, and I'm going to get that quicker and quicker as the day goes on. At this time of year, that just moved down. Yeah, something there then. At this time of year, what you need to be doing is waiting for that things to warm up later on in the middle of the day, and you end up with two completely different sessions often. You've got winter to begin with when it's really, really delicate. You just want to get a bite. But then later, as it starts warming up, it is like it's a completely different world after dinner at this time of year. And you have to hold things back as much as you can and then start pushing things. Once that water temperature starts rising a bit, the fish start moving, that's when everything gets so much better. So we've got to be nice and patient to begin with, wait for them bites, and hopefully be able to build things up in a bit. So that one is literally the cast that you've just seen go in. It's not took long at all. That's been in about 4 minutes, I'm going to say. I've not been timing it. I want to cast a lot faster, so quick 4-minute cast, and I've had a bite. So already, 2 casts in, I've had 2 bites, and I'm not getting any indication. So I'm really, really happy that them fish are coming onto my bait, going down and nailing it. They want to eat the bait. I'm not just casting it to a stack of fish because I literally haven't had another indication other than the 2 bites that I've had that makes me really, really happy. But it's exactly where we want to be, and the carpies as well, by the feel of it. It's a bit of a different one this today in that we don't know what we're fishing for. So we're at Commonwood Fisheries up in Wrexham, and we've never ever been here. We haven't had too much info. We do not even know what's in the lake, other than a bit of everything from what we're hearing. So it's a nice one to sort of show that even if you haven't got a clue what you're potentially fishing for, by fishing in this way, it just keeps your options open. It's that versatility thing that I keep babbling about all the time. And thinking about what your feeders are doing, or what your bait on your feeders doing, is massive. Like, these are the perfect stamp of fish that we're looking to catch doing this. They are the eaters, not the big moody ones like me. These are the eaters. These like what, £4.5, £2 to £5, I'm going to say. 10 out of 10 again. £2 to £5 are the ones that just wake up and have a feed. And hopefully by doing what we're doing, it's going to catch a few. But straight away, I'm happy with what's going on. But what I'm going to look at now is to just start putting a little bit of bait. I'm really, even though it's so quick, I probably would like to leave it a couple more fish. But for the purposes of the video, I want to speed things up now and I want to leave some more bait in my peg. So I'm going to increase the amount of pellets to roughly 50-50 now. So my mix has got a lot more food in it. And what that's hopefully going to start doing is every like couple of casts or every half hour, I'll add more and more pellets to my mix. And what I want it to do, that bandham's good to go. Multi-fish is leave some bait behind. Yeah, to begin with, as I said, I don't want any bait behind. I just want the attraction of my feeder and no build up of bait. But then the longer into my session I go at this time of year, I want to be leaving bait behind there. So there's another one waiting for me. Yeah, you need that bit of attraction in the peg for later on in the session, just to give yourself a chance. Did we get that in? We got that in beautifully. Just to give yourself a chance of building it up. Because say it will get better. There's that distinct feeding spell where they'll have a proper chew sometime after dinner when it warms up a bit. Even more so on days like today when the sun's out. It's been right chilly last night. But come dinner time, we're going to have 12, 13 degrees potentially, which will be absolutely mega. So that is me thinking. I mean, I'm going to try and catch one more, but it's these little things. I mean, there's not a lot to it. There's just calming things down, breaking the way down that you're feeding your bait, thinking about how you're feeding your bait in a nice, flexible way, and stacking the odds in as favour as... Is that going again? Maybe? Stacking the odds as much as you can in your favour of keeping things easy so you're going to get bites off anything. I mean, don't go down the selective route. You'll just end up catching very little until late on. I mean, ring them changes with little hook baits, nice little attractive amounts of bait on your feeder, and it'll just lead to a much nicer day where you're getting bites steadily throughout the day, where you're getting a lot better later on, instead of struggling and then catching a few late. We don't want them days. We want to catch fish all day because we're greedy. Oh, here we go. So literally on cue and half the amount of time that the last bite took, it's in again. It's getting faster and faster. I never expected it to be quite as good as this today. I say it's freezing still. The water's still only like 6 or 7, with it being right cold last night. But it just shows, doesn't it? A bit more bait again. I've got to bite it even quicker, and it wouldn't shock me one bit for that bite time to get faster and faster and faster. But it just shows that this time of year, by having a little bit of confidence sort of thing, by pushing it, being different, not being completely negative like we all want to be, not playing the safe option, being a bit braver, giving a bit of bait, but in a very clever, versatile way, it just gives you the best chance of drawing them fish that you're getting hungry. I mean, drawing them fish into your peg when everyone else is being a bit more delicate can pay absolute dividends. And this has been a lovely, lovely example. He's a bit bigger than him as well. He's at £6 on that one. Maybe a bit bigger. £6.5 I'm going to have him. But here's the perfect way to end that video. And hopefully you'll have learnt a bit about being as delicate as you can when it comes to this time of feeder fishing. Keep things stacked in your favour of getting a bite. Nice versatile mixes on your feeder that you can play about with, so you're not restricted to one type of feed or one type of feeder. I mean, keep things flexible. Have that ground bait options, the pellet options. Why can't I get this out? We've got him. And in turn, it means that you can be a little bit more flexible depending what's going on in your peg. Lovely, lovely springy carp. And yeah, hopefully that'll just lead to a few more bites just because you're doing things a little bit different to the norm. So hopefully you enjoyed that. The usual goes, if you like these videos, hit that subscribe button. There is endless amounts of content coming from myself and the other Sonubaits consultants. And yeah, other than that, I'll see you all very, very soon for the next one, where it's going to be summer. It's going to be really, really good next time, right? We're going to catch shallow and everything. But for the meantime, as I say, keep these delicate and hopefully you catch a few more fish.